If you want someone to genuinely feel your absence, the answer is not chasing harder, sending more messages, or trying to prove your worth. Sometimes the most powerful shift happens when you quietly change the way you show up. In this speech, we'll explore 5 things that can make your presence more meaningful and your absence more noticeable, while helping you build confidence, emotional control, and a life that does not depend on someone else's attention. There comes a point where you have to understand that constantly giving someone your attention does not automatically make them value you more. In fact, when your attention is always available, when you respond instantly every time, when you are always checking your phone, initiating every conversation, asking whether everything is okay, and trying to keep the connection alive by yourself, your presence can slowly become something that feels guaranteed. This is not about pretending to be busy or deliberately ignoring someone. It is about recognizing that your attention is valuable, and valuable things should not be given away without balance. You should be able to care about someone without making them the center of every thought, every decision, and every moment of your day. Think about what happens when you constantly make yourself available. You begin responding before you even understand what you want to say. You cancel your plans because she suddenly becomes available. You interrupt your work just to answer a message. You keep checking whether she has seen your text. You analyze every word, every delay, every change in tone. Slowly, your attention stops being an expression of genuine interest and becomes a search for reassurance. That is where you begin losing your own emotional stability. Your mood starts depending on her response, and your confidence rises when she gives attention and falls when she does not. That is not emotional strength. That is emotional dependence, and the first step toward changing it is learning to redirect your attention back toward your own life. Give people the opportunity to wonder about you naturally. If you are working, work. If you are with friends, be present with your friends. If you have goals, pursue them seriously. If you are exercising, focus on your training instead of checking your phone every few minutes. If you are spending time alone, use that time to become comfortable with yourself. You do not need to manufacture mystery. You do not need calculated silence. You simply need a life that continues moving whether she is responding to you or not. That difference is powerful because it changes the reason behind your behavior. You are no longer withdrawing attention to create anxiety. You are investing attention where it genuinely belongs. There is also something deeply attractive about emotional self-control. When you are not desperate for immediate replies, you communicate differently. You listen instead of constantly trying to impress. You speak because you have something meaningful to say, rather than because you are afraid of losing the connection. You allow conversations to breathe. You stop forcing closeness and start observing whether the effort is mutual. This does not mean becoming cold or distant. It means understanding that healthy connection requires 2 people who willingly contribute, not one person constantly carrying the emotional weight. When you stop giving constant access to your attention, you also begin noticing how much energy you were previously giving away. You may discover that you were spending hours thinking about someone who was only occupying a few minutes of your actual day. You may realize that your goals were being postponed, your routines were being interrupted, and your peace was being sacrificed for small moments of validation. Taking your attention back allows you to rebuild those parts of yourself. You become more present, more disciplined, and more grounded. And instead of wondering how to make someone notice your absence, you begin creating a life where your presence has genuine meaning, because it is no longer something you hand out automatically. One of the most powerful changes you can make is to stop building your entire emotional world around one person. When you become emotionally dependent on someone's attention, everything begins to revolve around whether she is talking to you, responding to you, giving you affection, or making time for you. Your day starts with checking your phone and ends with wondering what she is thinking. You begin measuring your worth through her reactions. But the moment you start building a life that feels meaningful on its own, something changes inside you. You stop waiting for someone else to make your life exciting because you begin creating that excitement yourself. Your life needs direction beyond romance. You need goals that make you wake up with purpose. You need responsibilities that challenge you. You need friendships that remind you that the world is bigger than one relationship. You need hobbies that make you forget about your phone for a while. You need physical activity that strengthens your discipline. You need personal ambitions that require your attention and effort. When you begin investing yourself into these areas, you naturally become less focused on whether someone is choosing you at every moment. Your confidence starts coming from what you are building rather than from what another person is giving you. This is where many people misunderstand attraction. They think becoming less available means acting distant, ignoring messages, or pretending not to care. But real confidence is completely different. Real confidence is having something meaningful to return to. If she messages you, you can enjoy the conversation. If she needs space, you can respect it. If she wants to spend time with you, you can appreciate it. But your entire day does not collapse when she becomes unavailable. You still have your work, your goals, your routines, your friends, your interests, and your own inner world. That emotional independence makes your presence feel different because you are choosing connection rather than desperately needing it. Start improving the areas of your life that you have neglected. Take your health seriously. Improve your appearance because you respect yourself, not because you are trying to impress anyone. Become more disciplined with your time. Learn skills that can improve your future. Read, study, create, travel when possible. Spend time with people who genuinely care about you, and challenge yourself to become better than you were yesterday. These things may seem unrelated to whether someone misses you, but they completely change how you experience relationships. When your life is full, you stop approaching someone with the energy of, "Please give me something." Instead, you approach them with the energy of, "I already have a life I value, and I am interested in sharing part of it with you." And there is another important benefit. When you stop making her responsible for your happiness, you remove pressure from the connection. She no longer has to constantly reassure you that everything is okay. She does not have to respond immediately just to keep you emotionally stable. You become capable of enjoying closeness without demanding constant confirmation. That creates healthier communication because your interest comes from genuine appreciation rather than fear. Eventually, you may notice that you are thinking about her less. Not because you suddenly stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself enough to give your attention to other meaningful things. You begin waking up with plans instead of questions. You begin measuring your progress by your own standards. You become excited about your future, and your emotional state is no longer controlled by another person's availability. The goal is not to create a life designed to make her jealous or make her wonder where you went. The goal is to create a life so purposeful that you no longer need to chase anyone for proof that you are valuable. One of the most powerful things you can leave with someone is not a long message, a dramatic goodbye, or an attempt to make them jealous. It is the emotional experience they associate with your presence. People may forget the exact words you said, the specific places you went together, or the small details of a conversation, but they often remember how they felt when they were around you. That is why, if you want your absence to become noticeable, you should focus less on creating emotional pressure and more on creating genuine positive experiences. When someone consistently feels respected, understood, comfortable, and appreciated around you, your presence develops emotional meaning without you having to force it. This means learning how to communicate without turning every conversation into an interrogation. You do not need to constantly ask where you stand, why she took so long to respond, whether she still cares, or whether she is talking to someone else. Those questions may come from insecurity, but repeated emotional pressure can make a connection feel exhausting. Instead, learn to have conversations where both people can breathe. Ask questions because you genuinely want to understand her, not because you are searching for evidence. Listen when she speaks. Remember the things she tells you. Be interested in her thoughts rather than constantly trying to prove your own value. There is a difference between wanting someone's attention and making someone feel seen. You should also understand the power of emotional safety. When someone knows they can communicate with you without immediately being judged, criticized, or punished, they are more likely to feel comfortable around you. This does not mean accepting disrespect or tolerating behavior that violates your boundaries. It means responding with maturity instead of reacting impulsively. If something bothers you, communicate it clearly. If there is a misunderstanding, address it without turning it into a battle. If she needs time, give her space without creating drama around it. Emotional maturity does not mean having no feelings. It means knowing how to handle those feelings without allowing them to control your behavior. Think about the kind of person people naturally remember. It is often someone who brought a certain quality into their lives. Maybe that person made conversations feel effortless. Maybe they encouraged them during a difficult period. Maybe they could make them laugh without trying too hard. Maybe they listened when nobody else seemed interested. Maybe they had a calm presence that made everything feel less complicated. These qualities stay in someone's memory because they are connected to emotion. You cannot force someone to miss you, but you can make sure that when they remember their time with you, they associate it with something meaningful. This is also why you should avoid turning every interaction into an opportunity to impress. You do not have to constantly display how successful, attractive, intelligent, or desirable you are. Trying too hard can create the opposite effect because the other person can feel that you are performing for approval. Confidence is quieter. It allows you to be yourself without constantly checking whether your behavior is producing the reaction you want. You can be playful without seeking validation, caring without becoming needy, and affectionate without demanding something in return. When you leave positive memories, you are not manipulating someone's emotions. You are simply becoming someone whose presence feels good to experience. And when you eventually step back and give the connection natural space, those memories have room to exist without being replaced by constant pressure, repeated messages, emotional arguments, or desperate attempts to hold on to something that should be mutual. Sometimes the hardest thing to do when you care about someone is to stop trying to control the outcome. You may want to know what she is thinking, whether she misses you, why she has become distant, or whether she will reach out again. That uncertainty can make you want to send another message, start another conversation, or find another reason to appear in her life. But constantly filling every moment of silence prevents you from discovering what happens when you are not the one creating all the contact. If you are always present, always initiating, and always trying to maintain the connection, there is no room for the other person to experience what your absence actually feels like. Giving space does not mean disappearing to punish someone. It does not mean deliberately ignoring messages, creating jealousy, posting things to get a reaction, or pretending that you suddenly do not care. Those behaviors are still centered around the other person because your actions are designed to produce a specific response. Real space is different. Real space means you stop forcing interaction and allow the relationship to breathe. You continue living your life, taking care of your responsibilities, pursuing your goals, and maintaining your dignity without constantly trying to remind someone that you exist. There is a certain kind of clarity that only comes when you step back. When you are always chasing communication, you can easily convince yourself that the connection is stronger than it actually is because you are constantly supplying the effort. But when you stop carrying everything, you can observe whether the other person naturally reaches toward you. Does she initiate? Does she ask about you? Does she make an effort to continue conversations? Does she create opportunities to spend time together? These actions can tell you much more than endless speculation about what she might be feeling. Space also gives the other person an opportunity to recognize your presence without being constantly reminded of it. When someone is accustomed to your messages, your conversations, your encouragement, or your company, your absence may become noticeable when those things are no longer automatically available. But you should never make that your obsession. If you spend every minute waiting for her to notice that you stepped back, you have not really created space. You have simply changed the form of your chasing. You may no longer be sending messages, but mentally you are still standing at the same door, waiting for a reaction. The healthier approach is to step back and redirect your energy. Go to work and give it your full attention. Spend time with people who make you feel grounded. Exercise. Learn something useful. Take care of your appearance. Work toward goals that you previously neglected. Give yourself experiences that remind you that your life continues regardless of who is currently giving you attention. The more you invest in your own life, the easier it becomes to give someone space without feeling like you are losing something. You also need to accept that space may reveal an answer you do not want. Perhaps she reaches out because she genuinely values the connection. Perhaps she does not. Either way, you gain information. You discover whether the effort is mutual instead of spending months trying to interpret mixed signals. That is why stepping back can be powerful. It is not about making someone miss you at any cost. It is about creating enough room for genuine desire, genuine effort, and genuine interest to reveal themselves naturally, without manipulation, pressure, or constant pursuit. The deepest transformation happens when you stop making the goal about whether she misses you and start making the goal about becoming someone you genuinely respect. There is a major difference between personal growth and trying to improve yourself just to get someone's attention. If you exercise only because you want her to notice your body, improve your appearance only because you want her to regret losing you, or become successful only because you want to prove something, then your motivation is still controlled by another person. Real growth begins when you decide that your life deserves your effort, even if nobody is watching, praising, or validating you. When you stop chasing validation, you begin to understand how much energy you were previously spending trying to get approval. You were checking whether she liked your message, wondering why she did not respond quickly, analyzing her social media activity, comparing yourself to other people, and constantly asking yourself what you could do to become more desirable. That mindset keeps you trapped because there is always another reaction to chase. Even if you receive the attention you wanted, you immediately become afraid of losing it. Your confidence becomes dependent on circumstances you cannot control. The solution is not to become emotionally cold. The solution is to build an identity that remains strong whether someone gives you attention or not. Start with discipline. Do the things you said you were going to do, especially when you do not feel motivated. Wake up when you plan to wake up. Complete your work. Train your body. Take care of your responsibilities. Improve your skills. Read, learn, save money, build something. Take your future seriously. Every small promise you keep with yourself strengthens your self-respect. You begin realizing that confidence is not something another person gives you. It is something you develop through repeated evidence that you can trust yourself. You should also become comfortable with your own company. If you cannot enjoy your life without someone's constant attention, you will always be tempted to chase whoever gives you temporary emotional relief. Learn to spend time alone without immediately reaching for your phone. Think about what you actually want from your future. Identify the habits that are holding you back. Ask yourself what kind of person you want to become in the next year. These questions are more important than constantly asking whether someone is thinking about you. And when your focus shifts toward growth, your behavior in relationships naturally changes. You become less reactive. You do not panic over every delayed message. You do not feel compelled to prove that you are worthy. You can communicate your feelings without begging for reassurance. You can accept someone's decision without turning it into a judgment about your value. You can care deeply while still maintaining your standards. You can appreciate someone without abandoning yourself to keep them close. This is where genuine confidence becomes visible. You no longer need to announce that you are changing. You do not need to post motivational quotes, hoping someone notices. You do not need to show off your progress or create jealousy. Your lifestyle begins speaking for you. Your conversations become calmer because you are not desperate for an outcome. Your decisions become clearer because you are not constantly seeking approval. Your attention becomes more intentional because you understand that your time and energy are limited. Eventually, the question changes from, how can I make her miss me, to what kind of life am I creating for myself? That question gives you power because the answer is within your control. You cannot control someone's feelings, timing, choices, or level of interest. But you can control how you treat yourself, what you pursue, what standards you maintain, what habits you develop, and how much of your life you are willing to sacrifice for someone else's attention. The moment your growth becomes more important than validation, you stop chasing someone else's recognition and start building the kind of self-respect that changes the way you carry yourself, the way you communicate, and the way you choose who deserves a place in your life.